I'm Lucid Fiasco, and welcome to Titanfall 2 Tips and Tricks.
Of all the different weapons in Titanfall 2, the LSTAR might be the strangest. Classified as an LMG, this weapon defies traditional classification. Let's talk about how this gun works and how it's most effective. First, how the gun works. The LSTAR fires projectile rounds which take a pretty long time to reach their target. This can be extremely problematic in head-to-head gunfights, causing you to lose almost every fight where you start firing at the same time as your opponent. Also, the LSTAR requires a short cooldown after each trigger pull, which makes single fire impossible and burst fire extremely inefficient. Luckily, this short delay can be overcome by simply avoiding these head-to-head fights and dictating the engagement. You can do this through several avenues. First, good positioning and pre-fire. If you know the general direction of the enemy, start firing in their direction. The LSTAR is a damage monster, so if they step into your sights, they will be dead before they can fire back your way. With most guns, you will want to pull the trigger right when your enemy is in the crosshairs, but don't be so stingy with the LSTAR. Start firing before the gunfight truly begins, and then you'll have the edge. Second, hold down that trigger. Releasing the trigger will cause your gun to reset and experience the short delay again before firing. Unless you're out of ammo, try to avoid this at all costs. Don't stop firing until you have killed your enemy, you are out of sightline, or you are dead. Speaking of ammo, the LSTAR is kind of strange. It's an energy-based weapon that does not need to reload unless you shoot so much that it overheats. When this happens, there is a long reload animation. Even though I just talked about holding that trigger down, you do want to avoid this unless absolutely necessary. The best way I found to avoid this is to use extended mags as one of your attachments, which will let you fire longer without overheating. Also, your gun does tell you its current heat status, so keep your eye on that. Now, as far as general tips go, the most important thing is to use hip fire. The LSTAR projectiles fire in a nice tight beam when hip fired, allowing you to shut down lanes while maintaining your situational awareness and movement. You need to be active and difficult to track with the LSTAR, and aiming down sights really hampers your ability to wall run, slide hop, etc. There's simply no need to ADS with this gun. Seriously, I recommend against it in almost any situation, as the ADS aim assist doesn't even help you when you need to lead your targets. Another tip is to fire at enemies from a distance and then retreat into cover before your rounds even reach their target. Because the rounds travel so slowly, you can fire off a burst of ammo and then retreat or phase shift before the rounds actually hit. This is extremely confusing to enemies and can keep you out of harm's way. This is just another example of how you can take advantage of the LSTAR's unique mechanics. My favorite part of my LSTAR class loadout is the Gravity Star. This little guy will pull in LSTAR projectiles, giving you much more room for error when aiming at enemies stuck inside. The Gravity Star and LSTAR work perfectly together, and I recommend trying to find your own unique ways to use this mechanic, as it's incredibly fun but also surprisingly effective. When you find yourself in a tricky situation, or you're just trying to avoid enemy fire, a Gravity Star can completely change the engagement in your favor. For your tactical, I would recommend phase shift. This will allow you to be safe while your gun cools down or reloads, and it allows you to get better positioning to attack teams from flanking positions where the LSTAR really shines. It also allows you to phase shift out of harm's way immediately after firing, even getting kills in the phase world due to bullet travel time. If phase shift isn't your thing, grappling hook or a stim could also work, as they help with movement and escapability, which you need when using the LSTAR. Finally, I would recommend Radar Jammer as your boost. This will allow you to flank and kill enemies without appearing on the minimap, which is extremely helpful when using the LSTAR. Having Radar Jammer assures that the enemy will not be aware of your presence when you fire, but instead at the time when the projectile actually hits them. By then, it's far too late. So that's my take on the LSTAR. It's not necessarily a top tier weapon, but it can cause major chaos if used correctly, especially against enemies who don't know how to properly avoid it. I have had some of my all-time favorite Titanfall 2 matches with the LSTAR, and I highly recommend giving it a go. Thanks for watching, and have a good one, pilots.